that's hot.
Wait, have you ever been to Antarctica?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the ice wall?
I can't say out straight.
No way. But we'll talk about it later. That's crazy.
He almost leaked it.
I should say you always need someone with you when you're in Antarctica.
Could MrBeast be hinting at the fact that there are secrets in Antarctica he knows that we don't know? But before we speculate, let's take a look at 10 mysterious things we know about Antarctica. Because Antarctica isn't just a giant chunk of ice at the bottom of the world. It's the most mysterious, most restricted, and maybe the most dangerous place on Earth. Scientists once lowered a camera into East Antarctica, and what they found shocked them. Ice that's over 2 million years old. Think about that. That ice is older than humanity itself. And if we somehow found a way to talk to the ice or see what it has seen, we would learn more about mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and maybe even civilizations we don't know about. But here's where it gets crazy. Right after that discovery, researchers suddenly stopped talking about what was beneath that ice. Almost like they weren't allowed to. Antarctica has always been deadly. There was once a massive warship sailing near its waters. Out of nowhere, a monster wave, bigger than a building, smashed into it. Most people never even heard about it. But it proves one thing. Antarctica is unpredictable, and nature doesn't want you there. And then there was the guy who thought he could expose Antarctica for himself. A flat earther. He traveled thousands of miles, ready to prove the Earth was flat by reaching Antarctica's edge. But when he got there, he discovered the exact opposite.
Now turn it over to the flat earthers. Who would like to go first? So obviously you all know Jaron Campanella of Jaronism, one of the most popular flat earth YouTube channels.
Not for long. All right, guys. Sometimes you are wrong in life. And I thought that there was no 24-hour sun. In fact, I was pretty sure of it. But I respect Will Duffy for being a stand-up guy, at least in the way that he kept saying it was true. I kept saying it wasn't. He said, "You want to go? I'll take you," and brought me here. And it's a fact. The sun does circle you in the south. So what does that mean? You guys are gonna have to figure that out yourself. Don't listen to my beliefs or my opinion. It shouldn't matter to you. But at least you should be able to accept that the sun does exactly what these guys said as far as circles the southern continent. So,
but not everything in Antarctica is terrifying. Sometimes it's just weird. Imagine trying to close your front door during a blizzard, except the blizzard is so strong that it literally traps you inside. In Antarctica, storms are so violent you can't walk between buildings without ropes. People actually tie themselves up like mountain climbers just to go get lunch. And then, the impossible happened. For the first time ever, a Boeing 787, an actual passenger jet, landed in Antarctica. Think about that. A plane designed for big cities, skyscrapers, and tropical islands, landing on pure ice. Pilots called it the most dangerous landing in history. Why? Because one wrong move, and that giant plane would just slide off into nothingness. But here's the part that makes you wonder. According to the British Antarctic Survey, Antarctica holds 7 million cubic miles of ice. If all of that melted, global sea levels would rise by 70 meters. That means New York, London, Tokyo, Cape Town, gone. Whole countries would disappear underwater, and yet no one talks about it. Now, imagine this. A time-lapse photo comparing Antarctica's ice from just 10 years ago versus today. The difference is staggering. What used to be solid ice is now water, cracks, and pieces drifting into the ocean. It's like watching a frozen kingdom melt away.
Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Well, it's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world. We've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains It's not covered with snow. Enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
That's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals.
But here's where things take a turn. NASA once caught something so strange, people thought it was fake. A perfectly rectangular iceberg floating near the Larsen C ice shelf. We're not talking kind of a rectangle. We're talking straight edges, 90-degree corners, like it was carved by a machine. Nature doesn't make shapes like that. So the question is, who or what did it? And then comes the strangest theory of all. Locals call it sky ice. A mysterious blue crystal-like ice that supposedly doesn't exist anywhere else on Earth. Some claim it's harder than steel. Some claim it burns like fuel. And others whisper it's not from Earth at all. Rumors say there are military bases hidden deep beneath the snow. Some believe Antarctica holds ancient civilizations, buried under ice older than humanity itself. And others say it might be the final frontier where governments hide what they don't want us to see. Think about it. Why is Antarctica the only continent where almost nobody is allowed to go without special clearance? Why are satellite images sometimes blurred? And why did dozens of countries all sign a treaty agreeing not to fight over it? What could be so important that the whole world suddenly agreed to play nice with each other?
I've never really believed in Jesus or done the whole church thing, but I think I've seen the stuff you guys are talking about here. I just didn't know what it was at the time. I was in the Army from 1997 to 2000, and I was sent to McMurdo Station in Antarctica. I was a helicopter mechanic and crew chief, and they had volunteer tours open for guys to go there and work on the helicopters there. When they asked for volunteers, a bunch of us applied, but only me and one other guy got accepted. The application process had a bunch of questionnaires that we had to fill out, and we had to sit for a bunch of one-on-one interviews. It was mostly just a bunch of questions about what our interests and beliefs were. I was sent to McMurdo Research Station in August of 1998. When we weren't busy de-icing the aircraft and working on them, we had time to hang out with the scientists at the research station. The military unit attached to McMurdo was small, and we didn't have our own separate facilities. We didn't have a PX or a media center. There was no chapel or chaplain, and we didn't have our own separate mail room. We just had to share the same facilities with the scientists and researchers. So over time I got to be friends with a few of them. They had two different kinds of ice that they worked on and studied. One kind of ice was the normal kind that we've all seen. They took cores of it out of boreholes in the ground. Just like normal ice, it was mostly clear or sometimes white, and it would melt into liquid water if it got warm. The whole area of Antarctica is covered in this kind of ice. But that wasn't their main kind of ice. The only time I ever saw them actually studying normal ice was when a film crew from National Geographic came by. The rest of the time, which was most of the time, the scientists were studying something they called sky ice. This stuff was totally different. We were never allowed to go into the laboratory areas of the station, because the labs had to be kept super clean, and they said it would mess up their work if they risked letting too many people in the lab. But one time, one of the researchers that I was friends with showed me a piece of sky ice. You couldn't touch the stuff with your bare hands because it was so cold. And it wasn't clear or white like normal ice. It was solid blue. He said that's why they call it sky ice, because it was the exact same color as the sky. We had to wear thick, heavy, going outside gloves to handle it. The stuff was so cold, it would instantly freeze your skin if you touched it. I don't remember what temperature he said it was, but it was something like hundreds of degrees below zero. Way colder than the normal ice that was outside. He had to carry it in a metal bottle that was kind of like a thermos. He let me play with a piece of it for a while. It felt lighter than a piece of normal ice of the same size. Like it wasn't very heavy at all. It almost felt like you could throw it up in the air, and it would just float back down. But I didn't try that. And it was also a little flexible when I tried to bend it. It didn't break like normal ice would. And even for a small piece, you couldn't see through it. It was solid blue, right from the surface. And here's the really weird part. It didn't melt into water. When it got warm, because we had it inside, it just started to shrink. It got smaller and smaller, but my glove never got wet, and there was no water on the floor. The stuff just turned into thin air when it got warm, and vaporized. He said that was the reason why they had to study the stuff right there in Antarctica. You couldn't take sky ice back to America to study it because it was almost impossible to keep it cold enough during transit. It would always vaporize into air, and you'd have nothing left when you got back to the US. He said Russian scientists had discovered the same problem when they tried to take the sky ice back to Russia. So that was why they all had research stations in Antarctica. After maybe 15 minutes of handling the piece of sky ice, it was almost completely gone. Just a tiny bit was left. And my glove was dry the whole time. I've never seen anything like it before or since. And that's unusual, because I've always had an interest in scientific things. I think that's even why I got selected to go to Antarctica, because a big part of the interview was about science and what I believed about things. So I really thought it was cool to see something I'd never heard of before. The whole time I was at McMurdo, I heard people talk about the wall, like that was a special place. It's pretty common to find ice walls and ice cliffs all over Antarctica. The whole place is ice. But it's all just normal white or clear ice. So I asked my friend where they get the sky ice from, and he said it comes from the wall.
And as crazy as that sounds, here's the truth. Antarctica is the last great mystery on Earth. A place of penguins and blizzards, yes, but also a place of secrets we might not be ready to handle. So the next time you see a simple clip of a penguin messing with a camera, or a plane making history by landing on ice, remember, every piece of footage you're allowed to see might just be hiding what you're not allowed to see.